Marksman here for a slightly different video. So, as many of you know, I reviewed a turbo Camaro, this new 2016 here, with an automatic about a month ago. And the nice folks at Chevrolet offered a couple weeks later to send me a manual one to just, do a video on. And so I wasn't going to turn it down because I'm really curious to see, how the manual felt. And this one also has a few more options than that base turbo Camaro. But if you're curious as to how, the turbo Camaro interior is and all of my in-depth thoughts, you can go watch the review video. I included a video card there you can click on and watch the full review on all my thoughts on the turbocharged Camaro here. This video is going to focus primarily on what it's like to drive one for a week, because every Camaro that I've ever reviewed in the past has always been a car that I just had for the day, and I didn't have it for, more than a few hours. And so things like visibility are things that you get used to, other things like that, and so I really wanted to focus on what it's like to actually drive one for an entire week in this video. So the first thing that really stood out to me is the visibility. That was my biggest question, is, would I get used to the visibility? Because that's the biggest thing everyone complains about with the Camaros. Funny thing is, though, for this new 6th generation Camaro, Chevy actually asked the owners of 5th gen Camaros, what do you want us to change? Do you want us to fix the visibility? And all the current owners, I mean, not all of them, but most of them said, no, we love the current car's looks. We are fine with the visibility. Don't change it. They loved, these high door sills and the kind of more, I guess, bunker style interior here that, the windows are all very small and it feels like you're driving around in a tank to some people whenever you first hop in it. And they liked that because it gave it a very unique feeling when you're driving it, and that is certainly true. It feels unlike anything else you're going to drive, with the way that the visibility is and stuff like that. But having said that, now this car is a base car, a 1LT car that does not have blind spot monitoring or any of that. That comes standard with a backup camera, so that helps with backing up. But as far as visibility goes here, in the week that I've been driving it, I totally got used to the front visibility. It's totally fine. Once you adjust your seat correctly and you get used to how long, the hood is and all that kind of stuff, then it's no problem at all. Side visibility is also actually fine. And the windows go far enough back there that you're not like peering around a B-pillar really. And, with the mirror set up correctly, I haven't had any problems with changing lanes or anything like that. So side visibility is also good. The rear visibility is still the sore spot. Not like you're going to be staring out your rear window all the time, but whenever you're glancing back in your rearview mirror, it would be nice to have a little bit of a better idea of what's going on, because that rear deck lid comes up so high that you can't see a whole lot of what's going on behind you. I mean, obviously, yes, you can see if there's a car behind you, but you can't see much more than that. You see up to that car's headlights or windshield, there's a car there, but that's about it. And so, maybe that would be something that would be a little bit easier to fix if they could just drop that rear deck a little bit. That would probably compromise trunk space a tad, but that may be a sacrifice worth making for some people. I'm not sure. But again, Chevy has done a lot of research into this, and I think that they did what they thought would make their customers happy, and so totally makes sense. So visibility is not a deal breaker. Anyone, if you test drive one of these and it scares you with the visibility, I think you will be able to get used to it, and that shouldn't be a deciding factor when buying the car. Now, an important difference here with the manual versus the automatic. The automatic is, quick shifting 8-speed, and because it has 8 speeds, it always kept the car in the meat of the power band and actually made it feel quicker than it really was. And now that I'm driving the 6-speed manual here, I'm kind of seeing some of this engine's shortcomings. Now, it's still a very fun engine. It's still enjoyable. It's still quick, but there is a good amount of dead space, I guess, turbo lag kind of. They've definitely tuned this now, to compare it with the Mustang, they definitely tuned this to have more of a traditional, typical turbo feeling with lots of power up top, not a whole lot down low. The EcoBoost Mustang's the exact opposite. There's a boatload of power down low with a stock EcoBoost Mustang, and then once you get past 5,000 RPMs, it completely dies off, and it just flatlines. So just different tuning styles, and of course that's something you can change if you really wanted to. But I think that this is the safer way to tune it. Because if you don't have that torque hitting the engine super low RPMs and the super high PSI and the super low RPMs, then you kind of preserve the engine, I think, a little bit better than you would otherwise. So I think this is definitely a better setup for longevity purposes, and I think that it makes this car fun. I think in those who want a linear power delivery all the way through can just spend $1,500 extra for the V6, and you'll have very similar power and just that different type of power delivery. But this, I really enjoy it. But having said that, it does have a dead zone there, and so you really do have to wring this thing out quite a bit, because max torque, it has 295 pound-feet of torque, which is actually more than the V6, so that's great and all, but that max torque does not come on until 3,000 RPMs, and when you're looking at a tachometer that only goes up to 7,000 for the red line, you're nearly halfway through the power band before you get full-on torque. So low-end power, you can't putt around as much at 2,000 RPMs and have a huge shove of torque. You don't really get as much of that. You kind of have to wait for it to spool, and then it comes on, and it's kind of a delayed thing, much like a WRX, things like that. It definitely has that kind of feeling to it. So it's that's just the mindset you have to go into it with, because there's a lot of other modern turbocharged engines that have tiny little turbos that spool up at super low RPMs. You can hardly even tell it's turbocharged. This is not one of those engines, but that's quite all right in my book. Just to give you an example about the power delivery though here, I'm going to start at 2,000 RPMs in second gear and floor it. Nothing. There we go, right at 3,000 RPMs. It launches like a stabbed rat, but before that, it's, like I said, you're waiting there. It definitely feels a lot like a WRX and stuff like that, so if you've driven those kind of cars, you'll feel right at home here with this. Other things to note, though, about the manual is it feels really great. It's just as easy to drive as the manual SS that I reviewed last year. Feels really good. I mean, the shifts are all very positive. It's very notchy in the way that it goes into gear, but it doesn't take a ton of muscle to get into gear. So it's really a perfect shifter, honestly. It's really ideal. The clutch is a nice lightweight, so if you have to sit in traffic a lot, it's not going to give you a leg workout, which is always nice, and that is certainly something. It's a lighter clutch than the Mustang by far, and so for those that do daily drive and stuff, that may actually be important. Another thing to note, and this is something I didn't touch on in the Camaro review video, is the electronic e-brake, which is different. Like for example, if you're cross-shopping between Mustangs and stuff like that, my EcoBoost Mustang just has a good old handbrake. You just yank it up, it takes half a second to do, and that's it. This, you do have to constantly hit the button off and on, and it takes a little bit longer than if you were to do it by hand, but it's not that big of a deal. It's just a difference, and I still think I prefer the electronic e-brake over a pedal, on the floor there. So I think it's good, but I still kind of miss having a good old handbrake, especially for those that want to do some kind of hooning. You can't really do that with the electronic e-brake. So just something to keep in mind once again, if you are cross-shopping, things like that. But it is nice because it gets rid of a lot of the clutter and makes this a lot more of a cleaner interior design here with just a little button. While we're speaking about brakes though, this car has the optional Brembo brake package. For the turbo 4-cylinder here, it's a 4-piston front Brembo brake that are upgraded. And now the regular brakes that I used in the base turbo Camaro that I reviewed last month, those felt plenty good to me. You're not going as fast as you would be in an SS or something like that, where you're going to be constantly hammering on the brakes. I mean, if you do do a lot of really intense backroads carving where you're really stabbing those brakes constantly, then this may be a worthy option. I mean, it's only like $485 for the upgraded brakes, so that may be well worth it, and it's just a safe thing, because not only is it the upgraded braking package, but it also includes upgraded cooling. So once again, if you are going to be really intense with it, then $485 is nothing for a little bit of additional peace of mind and assistance there. So that's probably a much needed thing if you're going to be doing autocross, track days, things like that. So cool that they give you that option, that it's so inexpensive. And so other really inexpensive options that I really like. This car has the technology package, which was not on the other turbo Camaro that I reviewed. And the technology package just gives you the 8-inch screen over the 7-inch screen, which isn't that big of a deal. I think the 7-inch one was fine, honestly. Although this does have the nicer stuff with the navigation, all that kind of stuff that you can add on. But it also includes a Bose sound system, and you get a Bose sound system which is much more crisp than the standard sound system, and you get the larger screen for only $800. Again, I think it's a bargain. For most upgraded sound systems, you're paying more than that anyway, and you get the bigger screen out of the deal as well. Again, a very reasonably priced, nicely packaged, technology package there that I think makes a lot of sense. So when it's all said and done, these start out in the mid $25,000 range. This one, as equipped, is just a hair over 30 at $30,385. So, and you can debate all day whether or not that is worth the cost to you for, a 4-cylinder Camaro with still has cloth seats and things like that. But I really like that they give you the option to have all the tech stuff and still have cloth seats, because there are a large amount of people that actually prefer cloth over leather. And with stuff like the Mustang, you're out of luck. You know, if you want the technology and you want the larger screen and stuff like that, you got to get the leather and the heated and cooled seats and all that stuff in a giant premium package. And instead with this, you can kind of do it a la carte, which is a really nice way to set it up. So it's cool that they let you do that, because then it does allow you to, you know, keep the price down and only give you the things you want and none of the stuff you don't need. But yeah, this Bose system is crystal clear. I mean, the vocals are really crisp, and it's honestly one of the crispest vocals I've heard. Now, it doesn't have as much bass as I would like, you know, it's not, I don't think it's quite as powerful as, for example, the 201A package in the Mustang that I have, which has a big subwoofer in the back and, you know, 12 speakers, all kind of stuff. This doesn't blow me away quite as much as that does, but this definitely has sharper vocals than the Mustang's upgraded stereo, the shaker in that car. So that's really nice, because it gives you a really immersive experience there with the really sharp vocals. And overall, it's a really good sound system. Once again, well worth the $800. Speaking of crisp vocals, though, the crispness of the Bluetooth audio whenever you're on a phone call is the sharpest I've ever experienced in a car, period. I mean, that includes luxury stuff, Audis, all that kind of stuff. This has the sharpest I've ever heard for a phone call. Like, it's insane. I mean, it felt like the person was sitting right there in the car with me. Normally, you know, phone calls in general are kind of muddy sounding and stuff, but this was crystal clear. It was kind of, I was like, holy crap, I did not expect it to sound that good. You don't expect a Bluetooth phone call to be, you know, super high quality, but it was. And so just a nice little perk there as well. Last thing though is, you know, the handling that I really want to talk about here in the Camaro, which is just so good. Again, you know, going around all my sharp favorite corners here on the back road, it's just phenomenal how much it dives in and how eager it is. And this one has the RS package, which has larger wheels than the standard turbo Camaro that I reviewed, but that doesn't really make much of a difference. The biggest thing is this car, just this platform is a gem. And in this Camaro spec, you know, this car only weighs like 3,300 pounds, so it's, you know, 200 pounds less than a comparable EcoBoost Mustang anyway. So it feels lightweight, but it just feels so athletic and agile, and just again, it does not feel like a muscle car. It's way beyond that. It's so sharp, and it's just an absolute joy to drive around corners. But one thing that I did notice that I wasn't expecting over the course of the week as well is the difference between track mode, or between touring mode and sport mode. There is no track mode in the non-SS models, but I actually prefer driving it in touring mode over the sport. The reason being that the steering gets a lot heavier in the sport mode, which is nice at times if you're in the mood for it, or if you're, you know, really wanting to be aggressive. But honestly, I think the car feels more eager to dive into corners whenever the steering is lighter, and it still is a good weight, and it still gives you lots of feel even in the, you know, touring mode. That I actually prefer that better, and I think that it actually makes the car more fun to take around corners, because you're not fighting the steering wheel as much, and you don't have as much steering effort to, you know, dive it into the corner there. So that's actually an unexpected thing, once again, that I would have only found out really by driving the car for a week and testing both modes out for days on end, and really deciding, you know, what is preferable. And the final thing, of course, like any other press car that I drive for an entire week, I want to give you my final Mpgs here of what I've gotten. Now, I've driven the car about 125 miles, and in that time, the car got 21.6 miles per gallon for the combined amount here, which is pretty good. You know, again, this is a turbo 4-cylinder, and I've been hammering it pretty good, you know, once again, keeping it in that boost and stuff, and it's been mostly city driving that I've done as well. So for a strictly city figure, that's really great. That lines up right with about where my EcoBoost would get whenever it was stock on the same kind of driving cycle. So, you know, I think it's good. It's definitely, you know, better than you'd probably get with an SS, and even the V6 as well. But once again, because there isn't much low-end grunt there, and the fact that you have to wind it out, I imagine that's probably why it doesn't get quite as good a performance, you know, in stop-and-go driving than you would expect from a 4-cylinder, you know, turbo. But again, I think it's totally fine. I think you're still going to be saving money and fuel costs and insurance costs pretty significantly over an SS and stuff like that. So yeah, but you know, pretty good fuel economy, I think. And if you do take it up onto the highway and do a strictly highway run, this car is rated at 30 mpgs on the highway, and I have no trouble believing they would hit that very easily. The sound is really really grown on me too here in the week that I've been driving. It does sound pretty good actually for a little 4-cylinder here, and it's got a good little growl to it that's pretty nice. But yeah, I mean, that's it as far as all my impressions here on, you know, driving the turbo Camaro with a manual for a week. It's really nice. I've really enjoyed driving it here over the course of the week. And you know, as far as, you know, what I would choose, you know, as far as Mustang versus Camaro, you can watch my comparison videos that I've done of comparing the two cars more in depth. But I think that they're both great in different ways. And you know, if you like ringing it out and you like power up top and you like a traditional, you know, WRX feeling turbocharged car, this is going to feel like that more than the Mustang will, that's for sure. But if you do, you know, want a ton of torque down low, you don't rev your car out a lot, you don't care about power in the upper RPM bands, the EcoBoost Mustang is really great as well. I mean, it's still fun. Both cars are fun in all situations. Again, it's just, they're just tuned differently, and that's just kind of, you know, as far as handling goes though, I think the Camaro is definitely hands down better handler by far, and that's just because of this awesome platform, the fact that Camaro lost weight versus the Mustang gaining weight here for the restyle, and so you know, this just helps the Camaro to come out ahead in the handling department. But once again, I love both of them. They're great in their own ways, and you can't go wrong with either one. So anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on the turbo Camaro here with a manual, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.